Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is, wherever you are viewing our broadcast today. I am so excited that you are joining us for A Balanced Life. As we move through the course of 2022, literally trying to figure out how to release ourselves from all that was 2021, we come into this space to give ourselves an opportunity to just breathe, to exhale, and find perspective. On A Balanced Life, it will give us an opportunity to share openly, honestly, and really be transparent about where we are, how we're shaping up, and what it is we really need to let go as we move into 2022. I know it's not easy. We've taken on so much since this pandemic, but now is as good a time as any to be engaged in your own life. I'm delighted to be able to talk to you for the next however minutes that we have to really share and open up conversation about where you're going. So many of us spent a lot of time in 2020 and 2021 being on social media, trying to figure out how do we have some sense of community in the space that we're occupying while we were seemingly isolated. So we come to this time today where I want to bring in one of our very special guests and someone who I'm excited will be a part of our Balanced Life family, Titani Harris. She comes to us from Chicago as a licensed social worker. She brings to the table so much energy and excitement around therapy. I know it's the T word that nobody wants to talk about. We can be thankful. We can be thankless. We can have Thanksgiving, but nobody ever wants to talk about the other T word, therapy. But let me just say, here to Balance Life, I can tell you that you need a combination of things in your life. You need a coach, you need a therapist, and sometimes you need a little Jesus. So everybody, allow me to introduce you to Titani Harris.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Jacquie, for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Titani Harris. I am a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist. I am the owner of TMH Behavioral Services, which is a group mental health private practice and behavioral health clinic here in Chicago. We service men, women, and children, providing individual therapy, family therapy, couples counseling, case management, medication management. We are a team of marriage and family therapists, psychologists, nurse practitioners, and holistic wellness doctor. I am also the creator and founder of the nonprofit TMH Man Cave, which was created to eliminate the stigma and bring awareness to the mental health needs of Black men. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited that you are here. This conversation today is going to be extremely stimulating. I think that you come to us also with this understanding and identification of how family structure is important and that need for everyone to be a part of the conversation and the dialogue. When you think about the work that you do and where we are moving through this pandemic, because clearly we're not out of it, being able to let go of past habits and practices is often not easy. In what ways can you share with us how to have those types of conversations when families really need to be at peace, like together, but yet apart? What does that look like in the dynamic of today's home?
That's a great question. So when I think about the family dynamics, and as you spoke about letting go, I think about intergenerational healing. And so I think it's important to first acknowledge the hurt, right? We can't move on until we acknowledge how we feel and what has happened and how it has affected us. So I think that's the first step. The second step is developing an understanding of how the other person is feeling in terms of what happened and how they feel about what happened. So I think that's where we start. Oftentimes we want folks to let go, but we haven't even talked about what we're letting go of, right? Because it's taboo to talk about how we're feeling or what happened with the other person. So I think the first step is just to acknowledge it.
In that acknowledging, those conversations aren't always easy to have. And I really love that because especially in the African American community, there is this phrase, what happens in this house stays in this house. And I think that everyone who's watching will be able to identify times as children, as young adults, and even as we've gotten older, there's some things that are just taboo that we don't want to talk about. And in this season that we're in and where we find ourselves and really discovering how to have a balanced life, you talked about acknowledging and then also understanding what the other person is going through. When you're in this space where it's all about you and all about self, and especially during this pandemic, we kind of went inward a bit. And some people are having a difficult time coming out of their own head, coming out of their own trauma, coming away from their own triggers. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on what a conversation would look like, especially now moving into 2022, just being at the beginning of the year, and you need to have those hard conversations? How do you start?
That's a great question. So let me just acknowledge that the pandemic forced us to deal with our own stuff. I think the quietness of the world, right, made us sit and think about, how we were feeling and what we thought about what was happening. In terms of the conversation, again, I think it's just number one, acknowledge. Number two, asking the person, what do you need from me in order to move on, right? Because there's a lot of hurt and pain in terms of just holding stuff in. So I think it's okay to say, hey, how can we move on? And what do you need from me?
So that's in the area of relationships or being relational, whether it's professional, people you deal with from at work, at home, individuals in your social organizations, or just in the community. When you have to have this conversation with yourself, because a lot of us during this pandemic, we were in our own head and sometimes we got in our own way. So if I need to have a conversation with myself, because I believe that self-talk helps us get through things, how do you start a conversation with yourself in regards to addressing what I may need to let go, or just starting a list? Where does my list begin?
So I like to call it removing the mask, right? We walk around with this mask, not dealing with whatever it is that we're struggling with. So I think the first thing is to remove the mask. The second thing is I'm a big person in terms of journaling. So just getting a journal or notebook and just writing out what's happening for you, right? What you're dealing with, how you feel about it, and being real, like asking yourself what's real and what am I imagining? Like removing the lens of, okay, this is what I think and how I feel, but is this real for me? I think that's where we should start.
Now that is super rich. I mean, that's a really rich tip. I hope that you're hearing what Titani Harris is saying. It's like, what's my mask? Who have I become during this pandemic? Do I want to keep wearing this face? Or can I really look at myself in the mirror and discover who I am, my authentic self? Now, let's talk a little bit about the man side of therapy and counseling and all of those things, because as women, we're okay with going to our good girlfriends. And I know guys get together and hang out and do all kinds of things. They shoot pool, they play golf, they play, football. There's a lot of ways that men reduce stress. There are a lot of ways in which they are finding now, coming through this pandemic, to really engage in substantive conversation. But for men who don't have boys, for men who are really sort of isolated from other people and don't have a sense of relationship or connectivity, what are some of the steps that they can take to really move out of being in the shadows, if you will, of life?
Join TMH Man Cave.
So great segue.
So one of the reasons why I created TMH Man Cave is because professionally, I recognized that men were struggling, specifically Black men. And here in Chicago, I just could not find a space for men. I don't like to call it a safe space, because in conversations with men as a psychotherapist and at the TMH Man Cave, Black men typically don't feel safe. So TMH Man Cave is a brave space just for men. So I always encourage men to sort of reach out to other men. I like to call it your advisory council of life, right? So who are some men in your life who you can just talk to about whatever it is that you're dealing with? I think that's the first step. Another thing is resources like TMH Man Cave. We have our free online wellness group. Anybody can access it from anywhere in the world. Here in Chicago, we have our event series, which our next one is happening in February. So I have these spaces that I've created just for men to come and feel encouraged, to feel empowered, and to feel like they have a space just for them where they can just be.
I love that. Now, did you say a brave space?
I did. I
love that. A brave space.
Yeah, because society has always, I think, has taught men that it's not okay to express how you feel, right? Men are often judged when they express their emotions, particularly Black men, right? They're labeled as the angry Black man. And so to talk about how you feel and know that it's okay, I think it takes a lot of bravery. When I meet with men in my office, the first thing I say to them is, I'm proud of you. And of course they look at me like, well, I haven't done anything. I'm like, you took the first step. Because it's one thing to talk to your friends, as you mentioned, women have their girlfriends, but that's not therapy. Those things are therapeutic, right? Therapy is about being in a space where a therapist can help you basically rewire your thinking, and you have a space just for you. So I think it's important that men recognize that these spaces exist.
That is wonderful news and exciting. I'm grateful that you're here today and able to share with us tips and resources in order to guide our conversation, not just toward being able to live a balanced life, but also the steps and stages that it takes to go through. As we prepare to really delve into these next several weeks of conversation and dialogue, what are some things that you can express to men and women and families? I think for the whole unit,
About being balanced.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
What does it mean to be balanced coming out of a pandemic? Because I think people think they want to go back to where they were, and going back is not necessarily a viable option, nor will it be sustainable. So what are some sustainable steps that you can say to us today as we prepare to wrap up this segment?
So here's the thing. When I think, let me just say this. We think about balance. I think it'll be safe to say that most folks think 50-50. I don't believe that. To me, balance is about fulfillment. So it's looking at each area of your life, spiritually, financially, professionally, personally, relationally, and asking yourself, am I fulfilled in these areas? Not are they equal, but am I fulfilled? So for example, when you look at your professional life, are you happy at your job? And if not, what steps can you take to become that person, right? And that's in all areas. We're thinking about, am I fulfilled in these areas? So I think that's what being balanced is about. Not so much 50-50, because I don't necessarily believe that we'll ever be 50-50 in all areas, but am I being fulfilled in each and every area of my life?
Thank you for taking a page out of my book, Fulfill the Art and Joy of Balanced Living, because you have said it so perfectly. It is about how do you create a space in your head and heart to know that you're okay. It's okay to be okay, and it's okay to not be okay, but understanding it, acknowledging it, and then having a platform from which to work through your issues will give you that sense of fulfillment and a sense of peace of knowing that you've accomplished something today.
Yes.
Titani, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
That we will keep having these beautiful conversations in the weeks to come. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. My future, Dr. Tanny.
Thank you, Dr. Jackie. Be well, be safe.
Thank you. Up next, Dr. Paris Love will talk to us about clutter and productivity.
Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to A Balanced Life. I am so thrilled for the guest that we're going to have today. Telling you honestly, talking about a cluttered mind and cluttered spaces can often lead to an imbalanced life. And I am excited today that as we bring in our guest, Dr. Paris Love of the Paris Love Productivity Institute, she's going to share some wisdom keys that will truly revolutionize your life. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Dr. Paris Love. Hey, Dr. Love.
Hi, Dr. Jackie. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited that you are here. You are phenomenal, amazing, and have such an amazing story about how you do everything that you do. Can you share with our audience a little bit about who you are and about the Paris Love Productivity Institute?
Yes, I'm Dr. Paris Love, and I am the CEO of the Paris Love Productivity Institute. I work with overextended professionals, just like everyone here, helping them overcome those barriers that are keeping them disorganized, dissatisfied, and discontent in their life, business, or career.
Wow. Talk about some Loaded D's. Those D's are clearly the ones that keep us discombobulated, if you will, when it comes to being able to just find that space in your life that allows you to move forward. When you think about the work that you do, and you definitely have hit on a few key ways that people can first begin to identify when their life is not centered anymore. Can you share with us a little bit more about when people can begin to recognize when clutter and discontentment and all of those things are going to be problematic?
Mm-hmm. Have you ever, some of the ways to recognize that is when we start to get stressed out, we start to get overwhelmed, little things start to bother us that didn't bother us before. For example, have you ever came into your kitchen and you have a drawer that's open, and maybe your spouse or your children open the drawer or the door and they leave it there? So before you were like, oh, that's okay, I'll just close it. But all of a sudden it becomes this issue. You know, the piece of paper that you leave on your desk, and you're like, oh, that's okay, I'll file that later. But all of a sudden it's like, oh, why is this piece of paper here? Why did somebody put this on my desk and didn't put it in the proper spot? So those little things start to irritate us, and they start to cause us to be overwhelmed. We start to get stressed out. And that's a time to reset and go, why does this really bother me? What can I do to not make this an annoyance? And I apologize. I'm losing my voice for some reason.
Good content that people should hear about, that we are truly going to, make sure that everybody understands. You have stated the value. Now, I have to admit, so true confession, Paris is my go-to for dealing with my clutter issues. And so I'm going to say this, and I know how she's going to respond. So I am a confessed kitchen drawer clutter person. I still have, Paris, I do one drawer in my kitchen that is the kind of catch-all drawer. I'll get to it and file it later. Let me put it here so I can get to it quicker. And then I'm wandering around the house thinking, where is this item? And I never think to look in that drawer. So I know that the audience will be able to identify with having that kitchen clutter drawer. And it is an annoyance. And there are things that you've mentioned that do begin to annoy us on an ongoing basis. That the shoe pile, the people who leave their shoes at the door, the coats that for some reason never get back in the hall closet, even after the winter season is over, the dreaded laundry, or my favorite, not unpacking your suitcases. How can people's individual and personal perspectives of how they live their lives can become a problem for other people?
Well, first, you are allowed one little drawer like that. So I will let you have that. You can have one. But you know what? When we think about something, we always say, one day, someday. So I'm going to give everyone a very quick task. Look at your calendar. It might say January through December, and it has Monday through Sunday, and you have days 1 through 31, or depending on the month, 28 days or 30 days. But really look at that. Do you see on there someday or one day? I'll give you a moment. Does anybody see that? It says anywhere on there, does it say one day or someday? Probably not. You know why? Because it does not exist. It's so much easier to do the task now than wait for later, because later will never come. With so much coming at us, when we have every attention to, one day I get to that, I'm a little tired right now, little Johnny's bothering me, I got to do this, I get to it later. Something else is going to capture our attention, so later never comes. So it's so much easier to do that thing now rather than putting it off for later. Because again, someday, one day does not exist.
Wow, so profound. I have to admit, I have some of those weeks where it's a someday, one day, any day, but today. And that is truly where a lot of my clutter and procrastination resides. As we prepare to wrap up this segment, can you talk a little bit about the damages of procrastination? Why is it not good to procrastinate?
You know, procrastination is a form of professionalism. So we always have to be perfect before we get it done, which means it never gets done. So what does that look like? For a business owner, that looks like bills don't get paid, invoices don't get out, employees are disgruntled. You ever go into a restaurant and you're like, I just said hello, like what's going on here? And so if the managers, you know, if they're disorganized and they got a cluttered mind, it's going to trickle down to their employees as well. In the household, the same thing happens. We probably all heard, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So we really have to look at, how is this clutter causing me to react? Do I need to deal with it now or later? Again, later never comes. How much more? And we always think, well, I don't have time for that. And I'm just going to go in. I'm ex-military, so I'm just going to go in and say it. We have the time and money to do what we want to do. So never say, I don't have time. It's 168 hours in a week. We all get the same amount of time. How we utilize it is what's important.
Those are really good tips. And thank you so much for sharing with us today. We will be posting your information so people can be able to find you. So don't be surprised if people are going to say, I need to be more professional in even my approach and how I handle the clutter in my life. Thank you so much, Dr. Love, for joining us today. It was a delight to have you here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love being here. Thank you.
In our next segment, we'll talk to a mom of 7. Who'd have thought that having 7 kids could lead to living a balanced life?
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Wow. Who'd have thought having 7 kids could create a balanced life? Coming up next, Charlotte Avery.
This just might be the only adult conversation that I have today.
You just said something that many moms, parents across the country, internationally and otherwise, this is your adult moment.
Yes,
this is your adult moment, and I'm so excited that you get to have it.
I'm like, yes, no kids, nothing, just adult talk, 2 girls talking, 2 friends. So this is just like the best part of my day. Thank you.
So I'm excited to introduce our audience to you. Everybody, I know Charlotte's going to tell you all about her, but let me just say she is one of the most phenomenal women that I know. Being CharlotteAvery.com is where you will find this amazing woman. She has been voted as Virginia Mother of the Year for 2020, which happened to be in a pandemic. And that was an outstanding year for you and the children and your husband, even in the midst of a pandemic. But outside of being a wife, being a mom, all of those other things, Charlotte is her own person who stands probably about what, 4'8", Charlotte?
4'11" to be exact.
My bad, 4'11", and that's super exciting because she may be tiny, but she is super fierce. And I'm excited to introduce all of you to Charlotte Avery. So Charlotte, tell us a little bit about you, and then I want to talk to you about your perspective of balance. And Charlotte's going to be with us often as a contributor, because I think it's important as we all grow as individuals and our children come and our children go. We want to hear from someone who's walking that path on a daily basis. So everybody, being Charlotte Avery.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Jackie, thank you so much for having me and allowing me to share time and space with you and your amazing audience. I am so excited to do this because, you know, I am a wife and a mom of 7 incredible children. Yes, 7. And they are between the ages of 17 and 8 years old, no twins. And I am fondly known as the family strategist with a PhD in motherhood, wife of 1, mom of 7, and the owner of no pets because I have too many nouns to take care of. But I create systems and strategies that help moms and women go from overwhelmed to overjoyed in marriage, motherhood, and the marketplace. And I just kind of found my niche doing that when I became a mom. So here I am, being able to share time and space with you and really talk about what a balanced life looks like for me. So thank you so much. And I hope that whatever I share today, I hope that it helps moms, women, men, people who just have a lot of things going on, who actually say, you know what, I'm just too busy to do this, or I'm too busy to do that, or I'm too busy to make my, you know, purpose, hopes, and dreams come true. If I can do a lot of the things that I'm doing, I guarantee you can find the time and space to do the things that you want to do also.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing those wisdom keys, because one of the things that I would like to find out from you today that I believe that will benefit our audience is you do carve out time for yourself. But in getting to that, there's a process that I've watched you walk through to becoming who you are today. I mean, a wife and a mom, put those things to the side. You're a phenomenal chick. And so in becoming the phenomenal woman that you are, can you share with our audience about what you had to embrace in order to get to the space that you're in? And I ask that first because I think it will help people understand when we talk about your definition of balance.
Well, that's a really good question. So, you know, before I became a wife and a mom, I had a different kind of life. Like my life now is nothing like I thought it would be years and years ago. I actually have a master's degree in sports medicine. And so, you know, I planned on doing all things sports before I became a wife and a mom. So once I became a wife and a mom of so many incredible people, I had to really embrace the calling that God placed on my life to be somebody who was going to raise world changers, and not only raise them I'm not raising them by myself. I'm raising them with a support system, which, you know, I'm just so happy that you get to be a part of, and people who have come along on this journey with me to really be who I am. My brand of being Charlotte Avery, people always ask me about that. And I'm like, you know, I can only be myself. So why not just be Charlotte Avery? So that's my brand. But in being the family strategist, it was as I was growing my family, and people were always asking me, Charlotte, how do you do what you do? How do you write books? How do you do, you know, TV and radio? And how do you write articles? And how do you do everything that you do and still have an amazing marriage and raise kids that, you know, most days act like they have good sense? And I told them, I said, you know, because, you know, the question always is, how do you balance your life? And my thing is I tell them, I stop them in their tracks and say, well, you know what? I don't balance my life. I blend it. And then people are like, what does that mean? Like, what does that look like? And so when I start telling people what blending looks like versus balancing for me, then they're like, wow. I mean, they're really blown away.
I love how you talk about being able to blend your children into your life, because typically children run their parents. But in the Avery household, I know that not to be so. And so when you talk about blending your children into who you are, your expectations of them, your intentions for them as a parent, and then even with your husband, explain to parents, being a family strategist, why it's important for parents to set the boundaries versus the other way around.
Well, it's very important for parents to set the boundaries, because if you don't, then you're going to be raising these children who are going to really be running you. And for me, I have 7 kids, so there's no way I could do that. And also, I'm a very old school kind of parent. So, my mom wasn't having it, and I'm not having it like that with my kids. So, for us, our life, for the most part is a scheduled, well-oiled machine. And so, I set boundaries with them. I set a schedule. I make sure that, everything hopefully will flow for the rest of the day the way that I planned it. But sometimes when things don't happen the way that I scheduled it, then I just have to kind of go with the flow of life. But the reality of it is that it is so important for you to set the boundaries and set them up front. And I'm not talking about setting boundaries with your children when they're 5, because I once heard somebody say who your child is at 4 is who they're going to be at 14. So you better hope that what you started by the time they came out of the womb, that you really put in good, what do you call it?
Value systems.
Yes, yeah, all the value systems and things like that, because the reality of it is I heard a wise person say, start out how you're going to hold out. So, if you don't want your kids sleeping in your bed when they're 7, then don't have them sleeping in your bed when they're, such little people, because then you start habits, and you don't want to start habits that are going to be hard for you to break. So for me, I started boundaries, and I started scheduling, and I started, really being okay with when to say yes and when to say no to my children, because in my life with so many children who are very active, who are doing a lot of things, it is so easy for me to get caught up in the extracurricular activities of life that I forget what I need to do for myself. And so for me, I'm not one of those moms that say family first. And I know that might sound really bad for some people, but the thing is I have to put myself first, because if I don't take care of me, then I can't take care of them. And so my thing is I have to be happy, healthy, and whole for myself in order for all of that happy and healthy and wholeness to pour out on them.
Wow. That makes so much sense. And I know for our viewers, those of you who are watching, it's important to make certain that you, as you said, are healthy, happy, and whole, because a healthy, happy, and whole parent will bring forth healthy, happy, and whole kids. And I know there are people right now texting, typing, commenting, tweeting, and saying, what are these women talking about? They have no idea about what my life looks like. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing with this show. This show allows us to talk to parents who are just starting out with a kid. And raising 1 is different than raising 2, and 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 in your case. But you treat each of your children so odd that you can do that with such grace and love individually. You don't lump them together. And I know that in the blending and in the balancing, it's difficult for families that have more than one child to figure out how to give each child their individual love and attention. Can you share some tips with our moms and dads about how to do that?
So let me just say, blending is about the priorities of life and not the to-do list of life, because we can get so caught up in the to-do list and creating lists and things like that. And then we're just like, oh my gosh, I didn't complete this. But my thing is, when you deal with the priorities of life, blending your life helps you to really see that priorities change on a daily basis. And so it's okay to blend your life versus balance. When it comes to our children, all 7 of them, I mean, we have, the gamut of age ranges, right? We have elementary schoolers and middle schoolers and high schoolers and one getting ready to graduate. And so for me, it is really important, and my husband too, it is really important that we schedule time to go on different dates with our children. We have 4 girls and 3 boys. And so it's really important for my husband and I, for us to be very present for them. And so we take them out on dates. And sometimes they're individually, individual with one child. And some of them, it's all the boys are going out with daddy and all the girls are going out with mom, and then vice versa. But we are very intentional. And not only that, but we really make it a point, and I cannot stress this enough, we make it a point to try to always have dinner together, because there are powerful conversations that really happen around our dinner table. And there's a lot of comedy that happens around our dinner table too, at dinner time. But I mean, it's really about knowing the bent of your child, because
Mhm.
all of them have completely different personalities. And you know this, Dr. Jackie, because you've met all of my children. Some of them are more strong-willed. Some of them are more passive. Some of them are more spicy and sassy. Some of them are, bossy. But all of their personalities are different. So even when it comes to the things that they like, when it comes to disciplining them and things of that nature, we can't discipline, our 8-year-old the way we discipline our 13-year-old, because they're just different age ranges and things of that nature. And what may have worked for one of our children might not work for the other child, because they're completely different people.
This is so wonderful. Thank you so much for the time that you've poured into us today. I know that our viewers will be going to your website, beingcharlotteavery.com, but most importantly, we'll be going back through and reviewing all of the comments and seeing some of what you all are saying, because it's important to us as a show. It's important to us as a network. It's important to our contributors that we interact and engage with each of you and meet you where you are. And so I'm excited about Charlotte being with us on a regular basis as the mom strategist, the family strategist, the wife strategist. She wears so many hats, but let me tell you, she wears them with grace and she wears them well. Charlotte, I'm going to toss a teaser. So when we talk again, I would be curious for our audience to learn from you the different stages that you go through as a woman in raising 7 kids. I believe that there is an art to what you do that we should share with our audience as it relates to how do you pull you together when it's time to deal with the 7+1. And I always throw your husband in there as the
Yes.
+1, because both of us being married, we know that our husbands are sometimes like our little ones when it comes to a variety of things in life. And I think that it's okay that women identify and men identify that our spouses have not only needs because they were there before the children, and how do you collect you? And so that's my teaser this week for next week. And so this gives everyone an opportunity, to come ready, game face and all, to learn and discover collecting ourselves as a way to move our lives forward and do the everyday things that we do.
Absolutely. Well, I am looking forward to it. Thank you again for allowing me to share time and space with you and your audience today, Dr. Jackie.
It's been a joy. Thank you. Faith and All That Matters coming up next.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, pow.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Related to balanced living sometimes just come down to perspective. It comes down to how you feel, how you think, how you wear your emotions. Are they on your shoulder, on your sleeve? Are they right here in your heart? Do people tug at your heartstrings? It just really depends on who you are and how you see your life. And so as we talk about balanced living and what that looks like and how you're going to shape yourself moving into this new year, it'll be important that you do a couple of things as we talk about how our faith shapes who we are, how our faith has shaped what we've been through and how we've dealt with it, and how it shapes where we're going in the future. And I think just for today, I want to give one principle related to perspective, and that begins with recognizing your pace in the space in which you currently live, recognizing your pace in the space in which you currently live. By no means are we going to be asking you to hurry up and do something and find balance, because for many of us, finding and achieving balance is not easy. I know it wasn't for me through all of the things that I've been through in my life, every instance that I have faced. And most of you who have followed me for the last 30 years know I talk about very openly in my book. I'm very transparent. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve, but there are some things that are very near and dear to my heart. And it comes right down to being able to recognize and identify where I'm at in a particular season in my life, in a particular circumstance or situation, and not moving too fast. Sometimes we have to allow our emotions and our feelings to catch up with where our head and our heart want to go. And so as you think about balance and what that looks like for you, I want you to write down the word for the month: perspective. What is your perspective about being balanced, becoming balanced, and then ultimately living a balanced life? This has been your girl, Dr. Jacquie, and I am so excited to continually share with you week in and week out principles related to how to live a balanced life. In our next segment, let's talk all things fitness and how it can help us achieve balance. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am so excited about a balanced life. We have been discussing all things related to balanced living, discovering what's important to us as we enter into this new year. And today I'm excited to have one of our regular contributors, Mocha Lee. Now, many of you may know Mocha. She is a fitness guru, an outstanding and phenomenal trainer. And she's going to come and talk to us about what it means to add fitness into our lives and why it's important. Hey, Mocha.
Hey, thank you for having me, Dr. Jacquie.
I am so excited that you are here. Now, people are like, oh my God, I know her. I've seen her everywhere. And, you've been on the cover of so many magazines. You've been on television. You've, just shown the world how valuable and important it is for us to use fitness as a part of staying balanced. So introduce yourself to our audience so they can get to know you and come to love you just as much as I do. And then we'll have a little bit more conversation about fitness and what it means for us going into the new year.
Absolutely. So, like you said, I am all things fitness. My whole life is pretty much dedicated to just making sure people can figure out how to make fitness a part of their lifestyle. And I will say some days are harder than others, easier than others, because to be quite honest, it is tough for some people, especially the movers and shakers like you, Dr. Jacquie. The people with the busiest schedules, even with the best intentions, cannot figure out how in the world am I supposed to fit in exercise or workouts, into my daily routine. So I come along and I say, you can do it. A big part of my job is to encourage folks, motivate them. And more than that, keep them accountable. That is the big deal, is accountability. And it's really my pleasure to do it because, just like you said, I've been in this industry for over 20 years. And it's just still gives me a lot of fulfillment to do this and to help people, because really at the end of the day, without good quality of life, then, what do we really have? So I just consider it a blessing to be able to, do this as my livelihood, and then to come on to your show, Balanced Living, and know that this is going to, go out and spread to the masses. It just makes me excited. So whatever we can share with people in terms of practical tips, and in terms of, how to get this new year off to a fabulous start. No more procrastinating, because the time is now. Time is now. Let's do it.
The time is definitely now. Yes. You said a few things that I'm certain will resonate with our audience, especially in the area of intentionality behind being able to work out. Some people want to force it. Some people have a difficult time trying to figure out how do I put this in my day? I have kids to get to school. I've got college students I need to pick up. I've got a husband. I've got a significant other. I've got these projects. I'm trying to start a business. But if you're not at 100, okay, at least 75. So let's start. If you're not at least at 75%, then you're no good to all of the areas where you find yourself. So can you share with us a couple of fitness moves that you may have, but also express why and the value of the longevity that comes along with doing something every day, even if it's just 5 minutes?
Even if it's just 5 minutes. So I just have to say, especially during the pandemic, Dr. Jackie, I realized that every little bit counts. I'm here to tell you, your body will just so appreciate even the breathing. You know, when you hear people talking about yoga class, Pilates class, I teach all those things and have done it for years. And I realize it's the breathing that is helping people with their stress management. And that's one of the first tips that I can share, because guess what? I have 2 daughters. I have a husband. I'm running a business. And so some days I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't get it done myself. And I'm the fitness pro. So I just sometimes in the morning, now notice most of my tips, Dr. Jackie, going to start with the M like mocha. But that morning meditation where you just sit 5 minutes and just breathe. Even, I mean, and just to give you an example, I might just sit, inhale, look up, exhale, bring my arms down, and just take a moment in the morning to ground myself and just give myself some positive affirmation, because it's really so much of your physical body starts with your mind. So if you can just start the day with some breathing, some stretching. I happen to be sitting on my stability ball, just so you know. Let me show you real quick. Yes. And some of your viewers may also have a stability ball. And if so, I'm telling you, I literally reach up, breathe in, then I might even twist, right? And give myself a spinal twist and help my lower back. There are just a lot of small things that you can do, especially to start your day, to just give yourself a positive push. It's true.
That's exciting news, a positive push. And that's a great way to start your mornings.
Yes.
Sometimes we go to bed anxious and filled with anxiety. We're worrying about the things that will happen during the day. And you mentioned breathing, and breathing is such an important dynamic to our daily lives. And sometimes just being able to take, as you talked about yoga, you know, that couple of inhale to a 3 count or a 4 count.
Yes, indeed.
Sometimes that simple exhale is so important, to just pause, you know, press pause, you know, as your M, take a minute, take a moment, whichever one it may be. It's valuable. You have to give you your M's. So Mocha's moment for breathing, inhale or exhale, and definitely with the twisting of the spine, each of those things. So what about if you're fatigued and you sit at your desk all day and you're at work and you don't have time when you get home, and you want to say to your body, let me treat it well during my work day? If you're sitting in a chair, does that work the same way as with the stability ball?
Absolutely. If you're in a chair and you're at work or wherever you are, we talked about the breathing, which you can do everywhere, but how about some simple stretches? So because most of us are at a desk and at a laptop, even just the simple idea of a big old shoulder shrug. And I'm telling you, these are the moves that I do with my personal training clients as a part of the warm up, as a part of the cool down, shrugging your shoulders, breathing while you shrug. That's at least going to alleviate some of the tension in your neck and your shoulders. And then a lot of my female clients are always concerned about their core muscles and they want to tighten up that tummy. So even if you're sitting, it's all about how you think about your posture and literally trying to sit tall and suck in and engage those tummy muscles. And if your boss is not around and you don't mind just sneaking in a little something, you could literally put your hands behind your head and figure out how to maybe do a little twist right there at your desk. You're actually working your tummy muscles and your obliques on the side. And I'm telling you, every little bit your body appreciates. Something is better than nothing every single day.
Oh, I concur. It's a great way to drop a couple of inches around the waistline. And I can't wait until we have a time to talk again. I'll throw in a little teaser for our next time. Definitely looking forward to you talking to us. You said about your belly and giving your tummy a little love. So when we talk again, I would love to hear just a little bit more about how stress plays a factor, even when you're eating right, even when you're exercising. So, you know, that's our teaser for next week. I love to throw that in there because we certainly want to make sure that you guys come back and get some more of Mocha's moments. Let me tell you, I'm a believer because I'm a client. And so it matters. I mean, this literally, Mocha has me thinking about, should I be eating a chip during the commercial or should I twist and turn and twist and turn? And so you literally make it become a lifestyle and a part of a balanced life or living a balanced life, however you want to frame it for yourself. It's always being able to put yourself first. Mocha, thank you so much.
You are so welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. The last little comment I want to make about my definition of balance, being balanced, and this is just me. it's almost like striving for a perfect life. I don't know if me personally, if I ever have an actual balanced life where I'm like, ooh, look at everything. Here's work, here's workout. Sometimes it's just never that balanced the way we think of it, but it's at least being mindful and striving and trying that gives us that progress. And so I appreciate you having this show, because I know it's going to help people be mindful about all the daily choices they make.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those words of wisdom and words to live by. We look forward to talking to Mocha again. Thank you again for joining us. Have a good day now.
Take care. Thank you.
Up next, my thoughts and reflections on a balanced life.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
As we begin this new year and thinking about all that will come, the joy, the hopes, the dreams, and aspirations, let us be mindful that balance plays a very important part in who we are and where we're going. I believe that as we settle into this new year, 2022, of course, there will be things that are unexpected, lots of uncertainty, and even understanding how we'll manage. But one thing is clear. You will have us here at A Balanced Life to lead and guide you along the way so that you can have the tools and resources that are needed to aid and guide you every step of the way. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today here on A Balanced Life. Until next time.